Hello, and welcome to day 12 of the Godmother of Pharmacology on tour. I'm on a road trip out to the Faroe Islands and back, and I'm currently on day 12. I'm in Ranvers in Denmark, and I'm at Memphis Mansion, which is a replica of Graceland's and an Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash museum. So I thought it would be quite quirky to talk about how Elvis died and to talk about the impacts of constipation on the human body. So Elvis was found at 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon in his bathroom, having suffered a fatal heart attack. And you may or may not know that constipation does actually come with quite a risk of you having a heart attack. There are a number of reasons for that. Actually going to the loo can cause what we call a vasovagal event, which is essentially a faint, but in severe cases that can actually cause a cardiac arrest. What we also know is that if you hold your breath while straining on the loo, it can create something called a Valsalva maneuver, which creates an issue with the heart rhythm, which again can lead to a cardiac arrest. And this is what they believe happened to Elvis. We know that Elvis was addicted to painkillers, so his GP had been prescribing him opiate-based painkillers, Percocet, Vicodin. The equivalent in the UK would be things like codeine and morphine, to enable him to continue his grueling concert schedule and manage the pain that was creating. Unfortunately, when you take opiate painkillers, the more you take, the more the body needs. It creates more receptors, so you need more to manage the pain. And it's really simple to become addicted to painkillers. You can become addicted to opiate-based painkillers in as little as 3 days. The more you take opiate painkillers, the more constipated you can become, because they impact peristalsis within the bowel. And peristalsis is the movement of bowel movements through the digestive system. And we know that Elvis's colon was quite impacted at the time of his death. So if you are somebody that gets constipated, I'm not telling you that you're going to have a heart attack, but it is something that you need to take seriously. And from a dietary perspective, it's really important to make sure that there's enough fiber in your diet. We want approximately 30 grams of fiber per day. Fiber comes from fruits and vegetables and whole grains. What's really important in addition to the fiber is sufficient hydration. If you aren't hydrated enough, that fiber can actually make your constipation worse. So if you find that when you have a high fiber diet, you become more constipated, that's generally because you're not hydrated well enough. And when you're taking opiate painkillers, having fiber without sufficient hydration can indeed make your colon much more impacted. So if you are taking opiate painkillers, yes, eat more fiber, but please make sure that you drink lots of fluid as well to help to manage that constipation. If you are taking opiate painkillers, then it is really important to make sure that you're using something to keep you going regularly to the toilet. Using products like fiber gel, which is a fiber-based drink, is not recommended because of the greater risk of an impaction, especially if you're not hydrating properly. What we often use are things like lactulose, which is a sugar-based solution, which is what we call an osmotic laxative, which means that it pulls fluid into the bowel, and we need that softness, we need that fluid to support that peristaltic motion. If you don't like lactulose, or if lactulose doesn't work for you, then more commonly these days we use something called macrogol, or you might know it as Movicol. And again, that works by pulling water into the bowel to soften the bowel movement, to bulk it up, and to make it much, much easier to pass. It's really important with those products that you do still focus on hydration and making sure that there's enough water going in to help that to work. If you've got a severe problem and those products aren't working, then we do also have what we call stimulant laxatives. So the common ones that we see in the pharmacy include bisocodyl and senna. They can be really good. You usually take a dose at bedtime. More often than not, you'll have a bowel movement the following day. If you haven't had a bowel movement the following day, you can take another dose the following evening in the hope that that works the next day. However, if you've taken 2 doses back to back and it hasn't worked, then you really do need to see your GP or a district nurse and get an examination. If you are severely constipated and stimulant laxatives aren't making you have a bowel movement, continuing to just take them increases the risk of impaction. And essentially what we're doing is we're just creating a bigger problem from the oral end. And what we need to do then is we actually need to do a enema or a suppository treatment, which actually helps to move the impaction from this side of the anus to make it much easier for you to have a bowel movement that way. So it's really, really important that you do make sure, if you are taking painkillers, that you are making sure that you're having a regular bowel movement and that you realize when you're impacted. Now, sometimes when you're really impacted, it can appear that you've got diarrhea. And I used to see this quite a lot in the pharmacy. Patients would be like, oh, I've got diarrhea. I've not been to the toilet for days, but now I've got this really liquidy diarrhea. I'm sorry if that's too much information, but this is really, really important. And essentially what that is it's the fluid within the bowels making its way past the blockage. So it can be mistaken for diarrhea when actually what it is it's signs of overflow from the constipation. If you have that, you do need to be seen urgently by a medical practitioner so that we can move that impaction and get things moving through much, much better. So this might have been a little bit of a gruesome video, but hopefully you found something useful from it, even if it's just a bit of a quirky, I didn't really know that sort of thing. If you have enjoyed this video, I'll be doing more videos whilst I'm on tour, and I've got lots more videos planned for the coming weeks. So please do make sure that you like and subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I'll see you in another video. Thank you for watching.